Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're talking Only Murders in the Building Season 2. I've been waiting for this season for so long. When I first covered the first season on this channel in the beginning, when I first started YouTube, it was some of the most fun I had on this channel because for this show, I think it's just like really what I want to do with this channel in terms of theorizing, come up with a suspect list, just talking, dissecting about everything that happened in this episode and trying to figure out who the killer was. In the first season, that was so much fun, bouncing off ideas to you guys, seeing in the comments stuff I may have missed or your own theories about certain people, and then spoilers for season 1 when it was Jen. I mean, nobody saw that coming, and it was just such a fun time. So for this video, for anyone that's new, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be dissecting and talking about everything that happened in the first 2 episodes in a quickly fashioned manner, obviously focusing on some of the things that are more important, and then I will do my own little review of the 2 episodes if I liked them, what I enjoyed about them, slap a rating on it, and then really talk about who I think the killer might be. Every week as we do this, I'll tell you guys my theory about who my top suspect is, crossing off some of the names maybe. And, obviously, please have fun in the comments, commenting down who you guys think, any clues you guys might have think that are more important that I might have missed out. Let me know down below. So if you guys have fun with this video, please make sure to like it. Please subscribe if you guys are new. But let's talk about Only Murders in the Building Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2. So, Only Murders in the Building Season 2 starts off where we left off at the end of Season 1. It continues to be a show that perfectly blends together comedy with a compelling narrative as we follow the characters of Charles Hayden Savage, Mabel Mora, and Oliver Putnam as they find themselves in another murder case. So Episode 1 is titled Persons of Interest, and the murder in which we are following is the one of Bunny Folgers, where Mabel is actually the prime suspect in the case. So Mabel is brought in for interrogation, and Charles and Oliver is also brought in because they were at the crime scene at the time. So they're all interrogated, but they have to be let go because the actual murder weapon, which is the knitting tool, was not actually found, so they have nothing to really charge them with, and they're let go. After this, we see Cara Delevingne, who's a famous actress, get involved in the show. Her name is Alice in the show, and she contacts Mabel when Mabel arrives back at the Arconia. We also get to see they're trying to do a Brazos reboot. Charles is offered a part in the reboot, but it's not the part that he actually wants. He's not playing Brazos anymore. He's actually playing Uncle Brazos, and this is sort of, I think, a knock on Hollywood, or maybe a representation of what Hollywood is trying to do nowadays with the, I guess it's an anti-whitewashing of old icons. This was something that was thrown around with the James Bond series when they wanted to recast James Bond. So when the black actress was announced to be a part of James Bond and was known as 007, people were like, oh my God, are they just getting rid of James Bond now? Like, is this woman going to be James Bond? It was like a whole uproar in the community, I remember. And you see with other shows where I don't think it's like anti-whitewashing sometimes. Like some people like to pick and choose their battles on this certain thing. But I thought it was funny how, it was a very Hollywood move to make Brazos, like Uncle Brazos, and bring in this black female lead to take over the role of Brazos. Like you see it nowadays in a lot of Hollywood. They're trying to do certain things, which I think it just, you have to pick and choose your battles. I think it's very good representation at times. But also it does feel sort of forced and like unneeded. But that's a whole rabbit hole of a conversation we can have another time. But getting back to the show, we're back at the Arconia where Oliver meets Amy Schumer, who is now taking over the residence of Sting's apartment. I'm a huge just anti-Amy Schumer. I just think some of the things she say in general are dumb. I think her comedy is very dumb or just not me. I do not enjoy her. I do not enjoy seeing her face. That being said, she's not as awful as I thought she'd be in the first 2 episodes. Thankfully, she's going to be a big part of the show, but she's not the main focus. You can tell the show is really sort of making it obvious that they want us to think that she is the killer, but it's also too obvious to where it's like, are they trying to make it too obvious to where she might actually be the killer because we think that she wouldn't be the killer because it's so obvious? Those are some things I like to dive into with this show in terms of what route are they going to do with the killer and who it's going to be. I have my own personal theories that I'll talk to you at the end of this episode and why I think they'll do a certain thing. Let's continue on. So he meets Amy Schumer. Amy Schumer talks about this TV deal and how she wants to be part of the podcast, and she's a fan of the podcast, which I think is pretty important. But then we also have Cinda Canning, who's played by Tina Fey, and she announces that she also has a podcast looking into Bunny's murder called Only Murderers in the Building. And so that was funny. That also plays off from season 1. She was, had a big part towards the end, Tina Fey, and that season. And then Charles, Mabel, and Oliver also agreed to continue their podcast, even though they were sort of threatened by the police not to continue it. But they decided that they want to, prove their innocence. And I'm sure that they also want to just investigate this murder in the building. They can't just let this go. I think they just have like that passion inside of them where like they can't help but investigate this. So the first thing they try to do is they check Bunny's home, where they meet her pet bird, Mrs. Gambolini. So while they're in the apartment snooping around, we have Uma and Howard, neighbors in the apartment who were also in season 1. They enter the apartment, so now the trio have to go hide in the closet. We hear the conversation that they're having between Uma and Howard, and it seems like Bunny had this painting that was worth millions and millions of dollars, right? So that was a big thing we got out of this scene. So they go back to the apartment where Charles discovers that he has the painting in his house. Is this the real painting? It's not, as we see by the end of episode 2, it was just a copy. But so we look at the painting though, it's worth millions of dollars. We see that someone's obviously trying to frame them. And he even says that the painting has his father in it, which is, a big reveal at the end of the episode. And so that episode sort of ends like that. And I thought this was a great episode, I have to say. My rating for this episode is like a 3.8 out of 5. I thought it was terrific. It sort of reminded me of like why I love this show so much, with like the intro music, how they use that score throughout the whole entire episode to create like that very mysterious sort of old school Clue type of vibe. And I just think the whole mystery of this season is going to be really fun. I think it might even be better than season 1 as we drop all these clues about Bunny and like her last words, as we'll see in season 2. I think there's a lot of play here, a lot of different characters that could be suspects, and I think it just should be a lot of fun. So let's talk about season 2 quickly. The title of this episode is Framed. So this episode begins with a flashback, which is something I don't think we really saw in the first season. I mean, we did get flashbacks in the first season concerning Mabel and her whole friends and all that stuff, but this was a very different sort of flashback. We go way back to like the beginning of the Arconia, and we find out that Bunny was actually the granddaughter of the architect of the Arconia, Archibald Carter. We sort of learned that he was like a pervert, and that's why Bunny has like the hidden elevators, because he used that to sneak on, I guess, the residents. Pretty, obviously disgusting thing, but also kind of funny as well. So now in present day, though, we see Charles, Mabel, and Oliver are confused about this painting, about why it's here, what's the meaning of this, why is Charles' father up on top, but they all agree that they should get this painting out. Just having this painting in their house, they can't. Howard's knocking on the door, inviting them to the memorial of Bunny. They need to get this painting out, so they decide to put it in the dumpster. Right, they wanted to put in Bunny's actual room, but that ends up not working out, and they hide in the dumpster. Before all that, we'll hit that. They go to the memorial for Bunny, where they meet Bunny's mother, Leonora, and it turns out Leonora was the original owner of that painting. So now towards the end of this episode, we see Charles sort of talk to Leonora for a while, trying to learn more about this painting, who's involved in it, who made it. Names like Rose Cooper, I think, was the one who made the painting. If I'm not mistaken, it was Rose Cooper who was the artist. Mabel talks to Alice, and they do this whole destroying the sculpture thing. Like Alice made a painting for Mabel, and she wants her to destroy it, so Mabel destroys it. They end up kissing, and Alice will be the main love interest for Mabel. Anyone's a suspect. I think Alice could be a suspect in this, but we'll talk about that also. So we see that Oliver is talking to Amy Schumer's character, where I guess I don't really have to say Amy Schumer's character. I mean, she's playing herself, which is pretty funny. I like how this show sort of incorporates like real life stuff into it, makes it feel a little bit more real, I guess, in a way. But it turns out that Amy has the painting. She found the dumpster, and she has the painting on her wall. Leonora comes in shortly after to take the painting, but then she sort of reveals that this is a copy. This isn't the real painting because it doesn't have a rip in the back of it, in the back of the canvas. So that's pretty big. It sort of throws us off for the whole season, because any painting we see now, we're going to think, like, is this the real one? Is this just a copy? We're going to have to see the back in order to confirm if this is the real painting or not. And towards the very end, when we see Leonora leaving in the cab, she reveals to Charles that his father not only had an affair with her, but also the artist Rose Cooper. So there's theories already floating around there that Leonora is Rose Cooper, that she is the artist. It sort of makes sense that, because then what she says would make a little bit more sense in terms of the father having an affair with the artist and Leonora as well. Like if they were the same person, it's something that we as the audience maybe wouldn't see coming, because we're thinking of two people now, Rose Cooper and Leonora. But it could be like this big reveal at the end where it's like she's like, "Yo, I am Rose Cooper," and we're like, "Oh yeah," because the father was having an affair with both. They're both the same person. Maybe it's something we should have seen a long time ago. Just want to throw that out there. I'm not really fully sure about that theory, but I just wanted to say it. So for this episode, I gave it a slightly less of a rating for it. I gave it 3.6 out of 5. So ultimately, for both episodes, I rounded up to like a 3.7. I thought it was a great start to this season. Like I said, I do think this season will be better than season 1. But now let's actually discuss who might have killed Bunny. Who might actually be the killer here. I know we're only 2 episodes in. We don't have any information really to go off of that's legitimate. I would say maybe around like episode 6 or 7 is where we could actually make some theories that it might actually be true in terms of putting this whole thing together. Whatever they give us in episode 1 and 2, most of it's probably throwaways or stuff that won't matter by the end of the season. But one thing I do want to say about the killer is that I want to look at season 1 first in terms of who the killer was. We had Jan, who's the killer, right? A blonde white woman who was the love interest of Charles. So I think just by saying that, we can cross off some lists for season 2. Because I don't think they're going to have the same type of killer for season 2. I think they want it to be someone a little bit different. I don't think it's going to be anyone's love interest. Jan was Charles's love interest in season 1. So I kind of want to cross off Alice, Cara Devlin's character. Just because I feel like if it was another one of these characters' love interests, it would be a little bit like repetitive, or unless they do it really well, it could be something that we don't really care about or whatever. I also don't think it's gonna be Amy Schumer's character. I think they're trying to make it too obvious. I don't think they're gonna do. I just don't think they're gonna do that. Like another blonde white woman's the killer. It's like I just don't see that. So I just want to cross them 2 off the list. I would say I think Howard is sort of like on my list right now. I think he's very suspicious. Just even when he goes into the memorial thing and he talks to the parrot and he says like, "Say Howard is my best friend," or he says something like that to the parrot. I feel like maybe he was trying to like confuse the parrot because he knows the parrot knows something. Even at the end of episode 2, the parrot says like, "I know who did it," which I think a lot of us probably called in episode 1 or 2 that this parrot was going to be important somehow. Like it's a parrot or a bird that can see stuff and repeat it back. It's going to play into the show somehow, right? But it's a funny thing. I enjoy that. All right, so now let's look at the actual murder scene. We know Mabel walked in on Bunny and just found her wobbling around. She mutters the words 14 and savage before dying. So now I think there's a little bit more to this scene. I mean, there's obviously more to this scene than what we saw. But I feel like maybe she even said some more words that we haven't gotten yet. Because in the first episode or in the beginning of the second episode, we thought she only said 14 before she died, right? And then Mabel was like, she also said savage. So it's like, who knows like what else Mabel could be hiding or hasn't revealed yet. Maybe she said something else before, like after she said savage, who knows. So 14, we don't know yet what that could be. Could it be like, I don't think it's an apartment building number. We did also get to see cards that they stole, that Oliver stole, cards that he sent her in the apartment. So he took those and he found one that said, "I want that painting." I think Savage was underneath it. And so, okay, so I guess I do have to talk about this. So, I mean, Charles and a lot of them were saying that if we find the painting, then we find the killer, right? So when I first heard that, I was like, that sounds like such a throwaway line for the show to say. Like, obviously, when they find who the painter is or whoever stole the painting, we're all going to think that's the killer. And then the next episode, or at the end of the episode, it's going to be like, that's not actually the killer. Like, it seems so obvious. But now I feel like if they do actually find the real painting, then they might actually have the killer on their hands because it's a good motive. And there's definitely more to it, though. It makes me think of Leonora now, the mother. Maybe she did kill her daughter. I know they sort of throw that around in this episode. But by the time episode 8 comes around, or however many episodes this season comes around, we could forget that line, that they think that Leonora is also suspect. So, and then Savage, when Bunny mutters Savage, that obviously pertains to, Charles's dad in the painting, how it says Savage on the back. What's his connection in all this? Could he be the father of Bunny? I know Charles says that is Bunny my sister? Maybe. I don't really see it going that route. But the father's important in some way, shape, or form. When he was arrested, he was murdered. I guess that was the murder of Rose Cooper, right? If I'm not mistaken. And I guess he was framed for it, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm just spitballing. And then obviously I talked about the bird, Mrs. Gambolini, as she was. So this is sort of important. So she was put in Oliver's care, right? And it was in Bunny's will. And so I think maybe Bunny knew maybe someone was coming for her, and maybe she knows that the only people that would really be able to find the killer, or at least do a good job, was Charles, Mabel, and Oliver, even though they were known to have a distaste for Bunny. But maybe she knows that the bunny knows some stuff, so she purposely left it in the care of Oliver so that it would give him some clues, like the bird would give him clues in the investigation. Sort of a stretch, but I do find it weird that why would she put the bird in the care of Oliver? You know, like what's the motive there if she doesn't like Oliver and she knows that Oliver doesn't like her, unless she found the bunny, I mean not the bunny, unless she found the bird annoying as well and wanted to annoy like her arch nemesis, which is Oliver, so she put it in his care. I don't know. But that's like I said, we don't have much really to go off on. We're sort of at like a dead end now in terms of like clues from the first 2 episodes. All we know is that someone's trying to frame Charles, Mabel, and Oliver. Someone is planting the painting in their house, dropping all this stuff, trying to make it seem like they were the ones who did it. We know that this painting has some sort of connection. Charles's father has some sort of connection. And, the painting is also worth millions of dollars, which gives some sort of motive as to why someone would kill Bunny. So that being said, like, it could be anyone. This is now a generic motive of money. It's not really, right now at least, it's not really a personal vendetta against money. It's more of they want this painting, or at least that's what we know so far. So it could be anyone. Like I said, it could be Alice, it could be Amy Schumer, it could be Howard, it could be even Uma, it could be her mother, it could be one of the 3. Who knows? Who knows who it could be? I guess right now, for my main suspect, I guess would be Howard. I guess, even though I don't really like that one that much. I think it's someone that we actually haven't even seen yet, maybe. Because since we saw Janet from season 1 since the beginning, maybe it'd be sort of a different thing to have the killer be someone that we haven't even been introduced yet. Maybe like towards the end we'll have some new characters that play into the mix, and that's the killer. Who knows? But definitely fun start, and please comment down below any theories you guys have. Who do you think the killer is right now? And anything I missed, I sort of brushed over the stuff in the dialogue that I don't think matters too much in terms of like finding out who the killer is, or anything that's important to like the central plot. Sort of skimmed over that or skipped that. But anything I missed out on, please comment down below. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to like it. Please subscribe if you're new, as we'll come back next week, do the same thing, and hopefully have some more clues. So thank you guys for watching, and have a great rest of the day.